Welcome to the Oracle Sanctum. My mission here is simple. Become the creator of your own reality. And today, we begin by unraveling one of life's most persistent mysteries, one that holds a profound secret to reclaiming your mind. Let me share something with you that could truly change your life. But first, let me ask you this. Have you ever caught yourself drifting into thoughts of someone, even when you swore you had moved on? It happens in quiet moments. When you're lying in bed at night, when a familiar song plays, when a random scent brings a rush of emotion you weren't expecting. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, like a whisper in the back of your mind. But it's there, lingering. Maybe you tell yourself it's just nostalgia, that it doesn't mean anything. Maybe you try to dismiss it, bury it under distractions, hoping that one day you'll wake up and find them gone from your thoughts. And yet, despite all your efforts, they remain. It's almost as if their presence has nothing to do with them at all. The unconscious speaks. They are a symbol. Carl Jung believed that nothing in the unconscious mind is random. Thoughts don't simply appear without reason. If someone continues to resurface in your mind, it's because your psyche is trying to tell you something. This person isn't just a memory. They are a symbol, a representation of something far greater than themselves. The unconscious is a vast, intricate landscape filled with everything we have experienced, every wound, every joy, every unresolved emotion. Some things get neatly stored away, while others, the ones that hold real weight, find ways to reappear over and over again until we finally listen. Maybe you believe that if you had closure, the thoughts would stop. Maybe you think if you distract yourself enough, you'll finally be free. But what if I told you that the harder you try to silence them, the louder they become? Jung believed that the things we resist the most are the very things that persist, that the mind does not let go of something it still needs to understand. And so, the real question isn't why you're still thinking about them, but what part of yourself is being reflected in them. Because sometimes, the people who occupy our thoughts the most are not just people. They are mirrors, showing us something we have yet to recognize within ourselves. And this is where it all begins. Think about this for a moment. What if the reason you can't stop thinking about them has nothing to do with them at all? What if they are just a reflection, an echo of something within you, something your mind is trying to make sense of? The power of projection. It's not about them. Carl Jung believed that we don't just see people for who they are. We see them through the lens of our own experiences, wounds, and unspoken desires. In other words, we project parts of ourselves onto them, often without even realizing it. Projection is one of the most powerful psychological forces shaping human relationships. It happens when we take something buried within us, an insecurity, an unmet need, a repressed part of ourselves, and assign it to someone else. We think we are obsessing over a person, but in reality, we are obsessing over what they represent. It's not just about them. It's about what they awaken in us. Have you ever admired someone so deeply, felt drawn to them in a way that felt almost beyond your control? It could be because they embody something you've disowned in yourself, some part of you that you've suppressed or forgotten. Maybe they have a confidence you secretly wish you had. Maybe they possess a sense of freedom, a way of living unapologetically that you crave but have never allowed yourself to embrace. And so your mind fixates on them not because they hold the answer, but because they remind you of something missing in yourself. And then there's the other side of projection, the shadows, the parts of ourselves we don't want to see, the wounds we don't want to acknowledge. Sometimes the people who stay in our thoughts the longest are the ones who have hurt us the most. We replay conversations, relive the pain, analyze every little detail as if searching for something we missed. But Jung would tell you that this fixation isn't about them. It's about the part of you that was triggered, the wound that was exposed, the fear that was activated. And until you recognize what that is, your mind will keep circling back, trying to solve the puzzle. So, ask yourself, what does this person represent to you? What qualities do they have that stir something inside you? What emotions do they bring to the surface? Because the truth is, the thoughts won't stop until you stop looking outward and start looking within. The person you're thinking about is just a mirror, and the reflection is trying to show you something important. Archetypes and patterns. Why you're drawn to certain people. And here's where it gets even deeper. Because some of these attachments, these lingering thoughts, are not just about projection. They are tied to something even older, something that has been shaping your relationships long before you even met them. This is where we begin to uncover the hidden forces of archetypes, the universal patterns that dictate who we connect with and why. Not all thoughts are just thoughts. Some of them run deeper, tracing back to patterns older than you can remember. Have you ever wondered why certain people leave such an impact on you, while others fade effortlessly into the background? Why some connections feel almost fated, as if they were meant to happen? Carl Jung believed that this isn't random. He argued that our strongest emotional attachments aren't just about the people themselves. They are shaped by archetypes, universal patterns buried deep within the human psyche. Archetypes are like invisible blueprints, guiding the way we see the world, the way we love, the way we attach. They are the unspoken forces that pull us towards certain people while pushing us away from others. And the most powerful of these, the anima and the animus, the unconscious feminine within the male psyche, and the unconscious masculine within the female psyche. When someone keeps resurfacing in your mind, it might be because they have awakened this deep, internal part of you. Think about the people you've been most drawn to in your life. Have they followed a pattern? Do they seem to share certain traits? Evoke similar emotions? This isn't just coincidence. Your unconscious mind has been shaping your attachments long before you were ever aware of it. Some people embody the qualities you seek, the energy that feels familiar. Others bring out something buried in you, old wounds, unresolved conflicts, deep-seated fears, and this is why certain people linger in our minds. Long after they're gone, they didn't just enter our lives, they activated something within us. Jung believed that love and obsession often have very little to do with the person we are fixated on and everything to do with what they represent to us. That's why some connections feel beyond reason, almost mythical, as if they carry a meaning we can't quite grasp. And perhaps, in a way, they do, because whether we realize it or not, we are all seeking something through others. Wholeness, understanding, healing. But there's another side to this. Sometimes these attachments are not about what we need, but about what we lack. The people who consume our thoughts may symbolize the part of us we have yet to embrace, the strength we've denied ourselves, the confidence we never claimed, the love we never fully gave to ourselves. And until we recognize that, until we understand what they mirror back to us, our minds will keep holding on to them, trying to make sense of what was never just about them in the first place. Unresolved wounds, the real reason they linger, but even deeper than archetypes and attachments lies something else, something even more powerful, the unhealed wound. Wounds we carry, the silent fears that shape our emotions, the subconscious patterns that keep us stuck in the past. And until we face those wounds, until we confront the real reason why certain people stay in our minds, we will continue searching for answers in all the wrong places. Some thoughts don't just linger, they grip you, pull you back into places you thought you had left behind. It's as if no matter how much you try to let go, some invisible force keeps you tethered, keeps you wondering, keeps you remembering. But here's something most people don't realize. The reason you can't stop thinking about them isn't because of who they are, it's because of what they wounded inside of you. Carl Jung believed that the things we try hardest to suppress are the very things that end up controlling us. That's why certain people become imprinted in our minds. They didn't just walk into our lives, they triggered something we've been carrying for a long time. Maybe it was a fear of abandonment, maybe it was a wound of rejection, maybe it was an ache for validation that you didn't even realize was still there. And when someone activates that part of you, when they bring an old wound to the surface, your mind holds on to them not because they are special, but because your psyche is trying to heal. Think about this. When a physical wound is left untreated, your body keeps sending pain signals to let you know that something isn't right. The same thing happens with emotional wounds. If you can't stop thinking about someone, it's because there's a part of you that is still hurting. Maybe they left without explanation, and your mind keeps replaying everything, searching for closure. Maybe they made you feel unworthy, and now you're trapped in the cycle of trying to prove something, if not to them, then to yourself. Maybe they reminded you of something you've been running from. The mind doesn't hold on to people, it holds onto unfinished emotions, unspoken words, unresolved pain. And until you address the root of it, your thoughts will keep circling back, trying to make sense of what your heart still doesn't understand. Jung would tell you that the answer is not in obsessing over the person, but in turning inward, tracing the pain back to its origin, understanding why this specific wound exists, and finally giving yourself what you've been seeking from someone else. So, what is it? What is the wound beneath the thoughts? Is it a longing for connection, a fear of being forgotten, a part of yourself you never fully embraced? Because until you stop asking why, they won't leave your mind and start asking what inside you still needs to be healed, the thoughts will never truly fade. The shadow self, what they reveal about you on, here's the hardest truth. Sometimes, the person you can't stop thinking about is simply a distraction from the real work that needs to be done. And that work isn't about them, it's about you. But before you can let go, before you can free yourself, there's something even more powerful you need to understand. The shadow self, the part of you that you've been avoiding, the hidden force that shapes not just your thoughts, but your entire life. There's a part of you that you don't fully know, a part you've pushed away, ignored, buried beneath distractions, relationships, and endless thoughts about people who should no longer matter. Carl Jung called this the shadow self, the hidden side of you made up of everything you've denied, rejected, or left unclaimed. And whether you realize it or not, this shadow is shaping your thoughts, your emotions, and yes, even your attachments to people you can't seem to forget. What if the person who won't leave your mind is not there because you love them or because they are special, but because they are showing you something about yourself that you refuse to see? Jung believed that the relationships that affect us most deeply, the ones that leave lasting imprints, the ones we obsess over, are often the ones that bring us face to face with our own unconscious. Sometimes, what keeps you hooked on someone is not their presence but the way they awaken the part of you that has been hidden for too long. Have you ever noticed how certain people evoke extreme emotions in you? Someone may make you feel insecure, abandoned, unworthy, or desperate for validation. Another may make you feel alive, inspired, or like you are finally understood. The reason they have such a strong effect on you is not because of who they are, but because of what they reflect back to you. They stir something within you, something that was always there, just waiting to be seen. Maybe the person you can't stop thinking about represents a trait you have suppressed. Maybe they embody the freedom, confidence, or emotional depth you have denied in yourself. Maybe they exposed a wound you never wanted to admit was still open. This is why certain people haunt us, because they force us to confront what we've been avoiding. Jung believed that unless you integrate your shadow, unless you acknowledge and accept the hidden parts of yourself, you will remain trapped in cycles of longing, attachment, and fixation. Your unconscious will continue placing mirrors in front of you, using other people as reflections, until you finally recognize what it's trying to reveal. So ask yourself, what is this person showing you about you? What is it about them that creates such a strong emotional reaction? What part of yourself have you been unwilling to face? Because the moment you stop focusing on them and start focusing on what they represent within you, everything changes. Letting go, reclaiming your mind, and moving on. But here's where true freedom begins. Because understanding your shadow is just the first step. Once you recognize what's been hidden, you have to learn how to free yourself from its control. And that is where we begin the journey toward individuation, the path of truly reclaiming your mind, your emotions, and your sense of self. If you've come this far, you've likely realized something profound. The person who won't leave your mind is not just a person. They are a symbol, a reflection, a messenger of something buried deep within you. And now that you've seen the projection, the archetypes, the wounds, and the shadow, it's time to ask the real question. How do you finally let go? Carl Jung believed that true healing comes through a process called individuation, the journey of becoming a fully integrated and conscious version of yourself. Individuation is not about forgetting, suppressing, or forcing yourself to move on. It's about recognizing why this person held such power over you in the first place and reclaiming that power for yourself. Letting go is not an act of resistance. It's an act of understanding. Most people try to move on by distracting themselves, by running into another relationship, by convincing themselves that they no longer care. But thoughts don't disappear just because you ignore them. If someone is still occupying your mind, it means a piece of your psyche is still entangled with them. The only way to truly free yourself is to extract the lesson your unconscious is trying to teach you. Maybe they awakened a longing in you, a desire for love, validation, or connection that you haven't fully given yourself. Maybe they exposed a wound you never wanted to face. Maybe they embodied something you've been suppressing, a part of you that's been waiting to be acknowledged. The key to letting go is not to push these realizations away, but to integrate them, to take back the parts of yourself that you projected onto them, to nurture the wounds they revealed, to recognize that they were never the source of what you were seeking. Jung would tell you that the reason you can't stop thinking about them is because you have given them ownership over a part of your soul, and the only way to truly move forward is to call that part of yourself back. This is what individuation is about. Learning to become whole, to no longer search for missing pieces in another person, but to find them within yourself. So instead of asking, why am I still thinking about them, ask, what do I need to reclaim? Instead of trying to forget, try to understand. Instead of waiting for closure, create it within yourself. The moment you stop seeing them as the answer, the moment you recognize that the power to move forward has always been in your hands, is the moment their presence in your mind begins to fade. The final truth, it was never about demand. This is where everything shifts, because you are no longer lost in the illusion that someone else holds the key to your peace. You see now that the person you were searching for was never them. It was always you. There comes a moment when you realize the thoughts are no longer about them. The memories, the longing, the questions, they were never truly about that person at all. They were the breadcrumbs leading you back to yourself. Carl Jung showed us that what lingers in our minds is a reflection of what lingers in our souls. And the moment you stop chasing ghosts and start embracing the lesson, the weight begins to lift. You were never haunted by them. You were being called to heal. And now you know exactly what you need to do. It's time. Set yourself free. If this video made you think differently, if it gave you a perspective you hadn't considered before, then don't stop here. Subscribe to the Oracle's Sanctum so you never miss another deep dive into the mind and emotions. And if this message truly resonated with you, consider leaving a super thanks. It's a simple way to support the channel and help bring more content like this to those who need it most. Most importantly, remember, awareness is the first step, but action is what sets you free. Take what you've learned, apply it, and keep moving forward.